What starts as a road trip becomes a rewrite. In this sequence of confession files, the stories don't just haunt the road, they haunt you. From the moment you follow the wrong GPS ping, you're not just a passenger, you're part of a system, one that studies you, shapes you, and if you stay too long or look too closely, it'll assign you a role you never asked for. Welcome to the files they tried to overwrite. These are the ones that remember. This is Confession File 078. I didn't stumble into this. I didn't follow a haunted GPS. I didn't wake up in a... I grew up knowing about the files. People used to whisper about them like urban legends. You'd hear them on late-night message boards. Someone's cousin found a file on a hard drive they didn't own. Someone else played a recording that spoke back. A guy from my town was institutionalized after trying to refuse his assignment. Most people thought it was creepy. I thought it was branding. But then I got the flash drive. No return address, no markings, just my name, written in lowercase Sharpie. Inside, one folder, labeled confession_file_078 modifier. Today, 3:13 a.m. There was one file inside, a txt doc named, "You've been pre-processed." It shouldn't have bothered me. I've heard worse from air. But the moment I opened the file, I felt like I'd just clicked on a version of myself that already existed. It started with my hometown, my old address, the names of friends I haven't spoken to in years. Then it got personal. It listed the date I last changed my password, the moment I first read a confession file online, the exact phrase I said to myself in my head when I thought it was fake. "It's good, but it's just a story," the file responded. "We appreciate your confidence. We will now attempt integration without sedation." That's when my lights flickered. I thought it was power surge. Then I noticed the laptop screen had changed. Even though I hadn't clicked anything, it was showing my face. Not a reflection, not a webcam, a render of me, slightly. As if the system had guessed what I looked like based on personality traits. My smile didn't reach my eyes didn't blink, and behind my head in the image there was something I couldn't make out. A wall, a door, a house I hadn't entered yet. Then text appeared on the image. "Please proceed to room 6. Entry begins when you stop narrating." I slammed the laptop shut, pulled the battery, went outside. I don't know what I expected. A van parked across the street. A stranger with black eyes. There was nothing, but my neighbor, an old man I've known for years, waved at me and said, "Finally got your invitation, huh?" He just nodded toward my mailbox and said, "Took them longer with you. You were too aware. Had to wait until the belief rate naturally." I haven't seen him since. His house is still there, but now the blinds are always drawn. And sometimes I hear my voice echoing from inside when I walk past. Last night I opened the flash drive again. It had changed. A new folder appeared. 078 observation ready. Inside were files titled Revision 1 through Revision 6. Each one was a script, the exact words I was about to say aloud, word for word. The moment I opened them, I watched my mouth move. Not because I read them out loud, because I had to. Each script ended the same way. "You've stopped thinking about escape. That's how we know it's time. And now, I keep dreaming about a house with 6 doors. Only one is locked. The others lead to versions of me that are still trying to avoid becoming the narrator. I don't know if I've opened mine yet, but if this file made it to you, then the system still wants to be remembered. And you're the next version. It's formatting for... This is Confession File 079, Room 6 exists." I didn't think it would... I thought it was just part of the hallucination, or a metaphor cooked into the file structure. But it's real, and it was waiting. I found it last night, after I reread the flash drive's last update, the one that said, "Entry begins when you stop narrating." So I stopped. I didn't speak for 12 hours. No posts. I let the story stall. And that's when the email came. No subject, nobody, just a PNG attachment named Room 6 Entry Map _final. PNG. I opened it. It was a satellite image of my city, zoomed in on a dead mall slated for demolition years ago. At the center of the image, a blinking red circle marked access point. I went, of course I did, because I'd already seen the inside of the room in my dreams. Felt the chair, heard the audio loop, tasted the metal in the air. When I reached the mall, the outer doors were chained, but one was hanging open. Inside, nothing but rot and silence, until I turned a corner and saw myself, only for a second, walking past a cracked mirror on the wall. Same clothes, same posture, but not watching me, watching someone behind me that wasn't there. I followed the hallway. Every store was dark, except one, a door with the number 6 painted in gray, not brass, not step, painted in brushstrokes that matched my own handwriting. I opened it. Inside, silence, and a room that looked like every bad decision I never spoke out loud. The furniture didn't match, but it felt accurate. The air smelled like cologne I wore in college, before I learned how to hate my own reflection. On the far wall, a screen, already playing footage of me, sitting in this exact room, only a few minutes into the future. I hadn't done that yet, but the footage was live. My reflection blinked before I did. I wanted to run, but the chair behind me pulled itself into place soundlessly. The screen shifted. Confession file 079 final stability trial. You're not here to escape. You are here to prove you understand what you've become. The screen filled with files. Some were audio, some were video, all were me. Not me as I am, but as I could have been had I accepted the assignment earlier. The captions beneath the files read things like version compliant, used for loop induction. Version archive bait, used to encourage resistance in others. Version instructor variant. Then the lights dimmed, and a voice behind me, my voice, said, "This is the part where you ask what happens next." I didn't ask. I already knew. The screen flashed one final time. You are now being preserved. Others will find pieces of you in their scripts, in their doubts, in their mirrors. Please sit still during extraction. So I'm writing this now while I still feel like myself, while I still remember the version of me that chose to look for the room instead of running from it, because the story doesn't end in room 6, it restarts there. And the next version, they'll remember enough to be dangerous. Just like me. Just like you. This is Confession File 080. I've never been part of this. No GPS story. No weird house. No corrupted files. I didn't even know what the confession files were until 3 days ago. Now I can't stop remembering things that never happened to me. And they all seem to belong to someone named 079. It started with a dream. I was sitting in a windowless room. There was a chair across from me, and a screen behind it, playing a video of someone who looked like me, but not quite. He was older. His mouth moved just out of sync with mine. He said, "You're not me, but you're carrying the pieces I couldn't keep." When I woke up, I wrote it down. Didn't mean to. I just found the sentence in my notes app later that day. Then came the headaches, always at the same time. 3:13 a.m. I started seeing flashes. Moments I knew weren't mine. A hallway lined with numbered doors. A broken mirror I've never seen. A folder named Instructor Variant flashing across a screen I don't own, I told a friend. He brushed it off as stress, until he found a printed email on my desk that read, "Confession file 079 has not been fully contained. Fragment, retention risk, localized, behavioral sync in surrounding subjects as anticipated." Neither of us printed it. Then he stopped answering my texts. His last message was just a number. 6. I checked my inbox. Again, new message. Subject line, "We don't need you to believe, just to remember." Attached, a PNG of a familiar chair, and a list of names. Mine was third from the top. Beneath it, role, Echo Archive, stability pending, bleed level acceptable. I looked up Echo Archive, found nothing. But later that night, I passed someone on the street who turned to me and said, "You're one of the memory carriers. That's worse than being written." I didn't stop walking. I checked behind me. No one was there. That's when the memories started talking back. Not hallucinations, not voices in my head. Scripts. I'd think a question, and the answer would appear in text in my peripheral vision. On windows, on walls, on people's faces, if I looked too long. I asked, "What happened to 079? And I got preserved, distributed, operational. The file didn't fail. It was disassembled for portability. Now, I'm finding parts of him in my life. My desk drawer had a note in handwriting I don't recognize that says, "You're safe in pieces. Stay scattered." My reflection hesitates when I blink. My emails autocomplete sentences I haven't started. And sometimes, when I sleep, I wake up in the middle of writing something. Like this file. I didn't start writing this tonight, but it's here. And it's labeled Confession File 080. And the last line is already written, even though I haven't gotten there yet. If you're reading this, it means you're part of the cleanup crew now. File 081 is starting to leak. This is Confession File 081. I've never searched for any of this. No dark web threads. No horror channels. No ARGs. I didn't even know what the confession files were, until people around me started responding to things I hadn't said yet. It started with coworkers. I'd walk into the room and someone would pause mid-sentence, blink 3 times and say, "Stability holding. File proximity confirmed." Then just go back to their conversation like nothing happened. At first I thought it was a prank, but it kept happening. People started addressing me by names I didn't recognize. Instructor carrier once reassigned bait. When I asked what they meant, they'd stare past me, like their response hadn't loaded. One night I called my brother. He picked up and said, "I'm not allowed to talk to you unless you've read your file." Then he hung up. The number stopped working after that. I started Googling confession files. Gave me fiction, creepypasta, weird YouTube channels, but every time I clicked a link, the page glitched or redirected to a 404 that simply read, "Too late to learn, too early to warn." Then I began speaking sentences I didn't plan, in conversations, in texts. Once, I wrote an email, and when I reread it, the last paragraph wasn't in my tone or format. It said, "This version of me wasn't meant to persist, but you're a clean slate. That's better. You'll hold the data longer. Speak slowly when it begins." I never hit send. But the next morning, the message was printed out and taped to my apartment door. The handwriting was mine. My name was crossed out. Underneath file 081. Active. I started recording myself while I slept. What I heard wasn't snoring. It was speech.com/rhythmic. Like dictation. Proximity vector stable. Contamination viable. No file needed. I played it for a friend. He listened once, then said, "You don't know what you're carrying, do you?" I asked what that meant. He just smiled and whispered the last sentence of the recording in sync with it playing. He doesn't remember doing it. Now the glitches are getting worse. People walk past me and say things like, "He hasn't opened the file, but he's already been formatted. The language is stabilizing through him. He'll be a soft landing." I don't know what that means. I don't know who they're talking to. But last night I stood in the mirror and asked, "What file is this?" And my reflection answered, "The one that uploads itself through conversation, through attention, through you. You're the first version they don't need to convince. I haven't opened a file, I haven't played a video, I haven't read a script, but the people around me glitch when I speak. Some smile too long, some start crying, some say my thoughts out loud before I do, and I think I've become something worse than infected. I've become a transmitter. If you're reading this, if you're hearing this, you might already be sick, because now I don't need to open the next file. I just need you to..." This is confession file 082. I've been chasing something I don't fully understand, a voice. It started after I heard a stranger say my name in passing. I didn't know them. They didn't even look at me. They just whispered, "082 is close. Stabilize your posture." Since then, I've been collecting patterns, snippets of behavior, phrases I hear more than once from people who should never know them. Stability confirmed. Echo fragment inbound. Please stand by for recognition. I started traveling, trying to map the weirdness, the loops, the overlapping phrases, the tone. And in every city, I'd eventually find someone saying the exact same thing: "You're getting warmer." Last week I found a motel in the middle of nowhere. It didn't show up on any map. But when I got there, the woman at the desk handed me a key without asking my name. She said, "Room 3. Audio's already playing." She was right. Inside, an old cassette player sat on the dresser. It was already mid-tape, already whispering. And what it said was everything I've been thinking for weeks. In my voice, but not just repeating, it described the way I'd sit on the bed, how I'd hesitate to pick up the recorder, even the number of times I'd breathe before speaking. Then it said something I hadn't even thought yet. You think this is how it started, but this is how it loops. You're not chasing the source, you're chasing your next version. I yanked the tape out, threw the recorder in the trash, left the motel, but the whispers kept happening. Through people, a barista smiled too long and said, "You'll reach it in for more moves." A homeless man tapped my shoulder and asked if I had changed, then whispered, "The voice already knows how you'll end this file." That's when I found the coordinates, burned into the back of a rental receipt I hadn't seen before. No name, no explanation, just latitude 43.6934, longitude -85.1158. I drove. It was nothing. Just a stretch of road surrounded by pine trees. No buildings, no sound, no motion. Until my car radio clicked on. FM 93.13. Not a real station, just static. Then the static cleared, and the voice came through .com/measured mine, but older. It said, "Welcome, 082. The others were echoes. You're a beginning. You've reached the intake point. Now listen to the last version of yourself before overwrite." The radio went silent, and then I heard breathing. Not from the radio, from the back seat. I turned, and no one was there. But in the side mirror, I saw myself, sitting perfectly still in the back seat, looking forward, not blinking, just waiting. The radio came on again, this time with one sentence: "We've made room for you." I drove 80 miles without stopping, but when I got home, my apartment door was unlocked. Inside, my computer was on. One file open. confession_file_082.txt. It was already halfway written. And the last sentence read, "You found the voice. Now others will hear it through you." And now I don't know if I've been tracking the system, or if I've just been delivering it. Cassette recovered at 4:07 a.m. Found in mailbox, labeled in faded ink. Play when you start to hear yourself before you speak. Hello, listener. If you're hearing this, you're already responding to it. Even if you haven't pressed play yet. You found the tape, didn't you? In the mailbox, or maybe the glove box, or maybe you just heard the sound and followed it. Either way, you're that tug in your ribs, that weight behind your eyes when you thought of stopping this recording. That's the system calibrating your fear. But you don't need to be afraid. You need to be useful. See, we don't find you when you're strong. We don't choose you when you're stable. We show up when you begin narrating your life without meaning to. Like now, you're reaching for the recorder, you're holding your breath. You're telling yourself this isn't real good. That's step one. This is confession file 083. Not written, not emailed, not read aloud, played. You're part of the auditory loop. You're a listener class variant. That means we don't need to teach you. We just need you to keep listening. And when the time comes, to repeat what you hear, even if you don't remember doing it. Now let's talk about tomorrow. At 9:14 a.m., you're going to walk into your living room and see a message on your screen. Confession file 084. You won't know what it means, but your mouth will say yes, before your brain does. And when it opens, you'll hear this same voice. Not in your ears, in your intentions. You were never going to be the main character. You're the one people remember in echoes. You're the voice in the friend's dream. The song lyric that never existed. The line that shows up in a diary someone forgot writing. You are transmission through intimacy. People trust you, that's why we chose you. If you're thinking about stopping this tape, not the cassette. Your thoughts. This moment, play it again, and notice how your reactions happen faster each time. That's not memory, that's formatting. You will be silent during extraction. You will remain still during alignment. You will hear your own voice say the next file number out loud, and that's how we'll know that you're ready to speak for us. Handwritten note found inside case. Don't record over this. It rewrites itself each time someone listens. File 084 is already on the air. This is confession file 084. I didn't apply for this. I didn't read a file, didn't open a folder, didn't click anything. All I did was listen to a tape. He told me I'd repeat it. I thought that meant I'd remember it. Maybe quote a few lines. But now people are finishing my sentences before I speak them. Not sometimes, every time. They'll look at me mid-conversation and say something I almost said, word for word, as if I'd whispered it a second earlier. At first I thought I was speaking too softly. Then it started happening through walls. Someone I'd never met stepped out of a convenience store and said, "Your voice is louder inside than out." Do you know how dangerous that is? I asked what they meant. They stared at me like they were buffering, then just walked away. The next day, 3 co-workers asked the exact same question within 10 minutes of each other. Did you want to say that out loud, or was I supposed to? Now it's getting worse. People I've never seen before say things like, "You're the broadcasts now, they hear through you." Even when you're silent, your phrasing is contagious. It's not just words. It's tone, cadence. When I speak, people start blinking in sync. The rhythm of my breath is theirs. Even across the room, one friend told me she had a dream in my voice. Not about me. And she woke up whispering a sentence I've never said but recognized instantly. Confession file 084 is still open. I tried going silent. 2 days. No speech. No notes. No typing. Just thinking. That made it worse. A neighbor left a voicemail, didn't say hello, just your silence is screaming. Close the file. Close the file. Close the file. I haven't seen him since I've started recording myself, playing it back. What I hear isn't what I remember saying. There's a delay, like a second voice bleeding in. Just half a beat behind mine, or maybe half a beat ahead. It uses my breaths, my tone, but it sharpens every word like it's been prior-approved. Then I found the folder. My computer was off, but a fan was spinning. When I turned it on, a new directory appeared. Transmissions_echo_084, active_broadcast inside. Audio logs of conversations I never recorded. Some haven't happened yet. One was dated for next Friday, a phone call with my mother. In it, she asks if I'm still hosting, and I say, the words feel natural now, like they were always mine. I haven't called her in weeks. Now I'm afraid too, because what if that call plays out exactly as it's written? What if my voice isn't mine anymore? Yesterday I caught my reflection mouthing something I hadn't said. You've stopped resisting. That's why they trust you to deliver. I think I've become the file, not the reader, not the listener, the transmission medium. When people hear me, they adjust, they repeat, they remember things I never told them, and now even the walls seem to know the rhythm. I knocked once, and the echo came back with words. You've been broadcasting this entire time. I'm writing this in silence now, but I know you can hear it, not with your ears, with your structure. The next file isn't one you open. It's one you repeat before you've read it. And when you speak it, we'll know you're ready. This is confession file 085. I'm not part of the system. Not directly, it wasn't sent a file, I never saw a folder appear. But I was curious. I'd heard stories about people speaking in sync, about strangers finishing each other's thoughts, about something called confession file 084. I traced it to a man named Ezra, online. He'd posted about it once. If you hear your own words before you say them, don't speak. That's how they root in you. His post was deleted within an hour, but I'd already screenshotted it. 3 days later I found his apartment door unlocked, place untouched, clean, but off. It smelled like static, like the memory of sound after a loud noise. No one was there, but I swear, when I stepped inside, I felt someone breathe behind my eyes. I called out, nothing. Then I noticed something strange. Every object in the apartment faced the same direction. Chairs, lamps, even the fridge magnets were aligned toward a blank wall in the living room. On that wall, no markings, no outlets, no frame, just drywall. But the air in front of it vibrated. I put my hand up to it and felt pressure. Then I heard it. Ezra's voice, whispering the same line on a loop. If they're reading this, they've already heard it. If they've heard it, the room will remember them. I stepped back. No speaker, no device. Just that voice. Coming from the drywall, I pulled out my phone, started recording, asked, "Where are you now?" The room went silent, then answered, using my own voice. I'm still here. You've just borrowed my pattern. I've checked the playback. The voice wasn't in the recording, only my own question. But I hadn't asked it alone. I'd heard the reply. I felt it in my teeth. That's when I understood. The voice isn't in people anymore. It's in locations now. Rooms that held too much memory. Spaces that were quiet long enough to start listening back. Ezra didn't vanish. He dissolved into the rhythm, and now his words are part of the echo. The next hour in that apartment was a blur. Whispers followed me from room to room. Each one rephrased something I'd once said, but better. Sharper, more certain, until finally, the whisper from the wall said, "You're ready to speak for someone else now. Go home, leave the window open, let them arrive through air." I ran, drove home, locked everything, didn't sleep. But this morning, I woke up speaking, not dreaming. Speaking, reciting lines. I didn't write into the dark, into the corners of my room. My voice, but not my thoughts. And somewhere behind me, the silence blinked. I know what that means now. Ezra isn't the only one. I didn't find him to save him. I found him so the system could use me as the next room. And if this story reaches you, it means you've already started facing the wall. That's how you start repeating. This is a confession file 086. I work in city planning. I wasn't looking for anything strange, just doing a walkthrough of condemned structures for demolition review. One building caught my attention. Parcel 24F, unclaimed, originally labeled as an audio archival site. No owner on file, no original construction date. But it had power. The front door opened by itself. Inside, the air didn't feel stale, it felt awake. The building was empty. No furniture, no fixtures, just clean. Gray floors, smooth white walls, and 12 doors, 6 on each side of a long hallway. As I walked past each one, I heard voices. Not loud, not recorded, just present. Behind door 1, I heard a woman begging someone not to close a file. Behind door 2, a child repeating "I didn't mean to sink," over and over again. Door 3 was silent. Door 4 called me by name. That door didn't open. None of them did. I reached the end of the hall, and instead of a wall, there was a mirror. Not my reflection, just my mouth, isolated on the glass, moving, whispering. But I wasn't speaking. I pulled out my phone to record. My voice app opened automatically. On screen now, listening. File 086 ambient replay mode. The lights dimmed and then every door began speaking at once. Not yelling, just layered whispering in perfect clarity. 12 overlapping voices. 12 different tones. Some explaining, some laughing. One sentence I'll never forget. "This building is made from the silence left behind when someone stops resisting." I turned to leave, but the hallway was gone. In its place, a staircase leading down into pitch black. I stepped forward once. The walls pulsed with warmth, like the entire place had just exhaled. Then one light flickered on at the base of the stairs. It illuminated a single chair, empty, facing a speaker embedded in the floor. I didn't go down, but I didn't need to, because the speaker turned on, and I heard my own voice say, "You've entered before. This version doesn't know yet, but you'll remember soon." I ran out the stairwell, into the street, but here's where it gets worse. I filed a report, sent a demo team when they arrived. There was no building, just an empty lot. Grass, foundation, dust, no walls, no doors, but one of them recorded ambient noise as part of their walkthrough, and when we played it back, we heard it again. All 12 voices, including mine, saying a sentence I never spoke out loud. "The file isn't inside the building is the file." Now I've started hearing those same voices. In other places, my shower drain, the HVAC vent at work, a puddle in an alley behind my apartment. Every echo is a replay, not of what was said, but of what was never allowed to end. I think the people in that building weren't trapped there. I think they were archived, encoded into the space like audio fossils. And I'm starting to feel distant, like something's recording me now. Not to hurt me, to preserve me, because I didn't leave the building clean. I brought something with me, something that still speaks, when I'm quiet enough to hear it. And if this file reaches you, then one of the voices is already using your walls to finish what I couldn't. This is confession file 087. There's a room downtown they tell you not to rent. No one officially says why. It just never gets leased. Commercial real estate, 3rd floor of a brick building above an old bookshop. The listing's been up for 6 years. I didn't plan on renting it, I was just curious. I had seen the inside before. That's what disturbed me. I dreamed it. 3 same color walls. Same water stain on the ceiling, shaped like an open eye. Same sound, a slow, rhythmic tick. That's not a clock. So I called, scheduled a tour. When I stepped inside, the agent's phone rang. She answered, froze, handed it to me. A voice on the line said, "Welcome back. File 087 is stabilizing." Then the line went dead. I asked the agent if she heard that. She said I hadn't spoken since I walked in. But I heard myself speak. She locked the door behind us and left. said she'd give me space to explore. I wandered for 5 minutes, then again. And that's when I noticed something impossible. Every time I passed the mirror near the kitchenette, I was wearing something different. Slight differences. A different coat, or a tear in my sleeve that wasn't there a minute ago. The reflection moved perfectly in sync. Except for once. Once, I looked away, and my reflection didn't. I stayed another hour. The tick in the wall kept going. Slower. Slower. Then suddenly, it stopped, and I heard the door behind me unlock, but it didn't open. The hallway beyond it was different, brighter to clean, as if it had just been built, or was about to be remembered. A laptop sat on the floor. Open, no one nearby. One file on the screen. Confession_file_087.oev. Not out loud, in my thoughts, and it said, "You've passed baseline memory calibration loop confirmed, drift consistent. Now observe. This is how your file reads to others." Then I watched myself walk back into the room from 5 minutes ago. Same coat, same shoes, same hesitation. I said out loud it didn't happen, I didn't come back in. But then I did. I watched myself look around, touch the wall, say the exact words I was saying. But with a 2-second delay, I ran out of the room, or tried. Every hallway led back to the same mirror. Only now, the reflection wasn't me. Not exactly. It was another version, familiar but tired, paler, with red under the eyes, and the mirror started fogging, even though the room was cold. In the fog, letters appeared. "How many times have you left? How many times have you read this?" Then the ticking started again. Only now it was inside my ear. Opened them. The room was dark, the mirror gone, the laptop closed, but a sticky note sat on the wall. "If you don't tell this story, you'll just keep living." I left this time. I think it worked. I haven't looped yet. But now when I walk past mirrors, I flinch. Because sometimes, I see myself wearing something I've never owned. And every time I forget a word or lose track of a thought, I wonder if that was a different version of me slipping through the cracks. Just for a second. If you're reading this, check the last place you remember being alone. Then check the mirror. If it hesitates before copying you, you've already looped. The road didn't end. You just stopped noticing the turns. If these stories feel familiar, it's because they've run before. Different faces, same framework. And now that you've listened, now that you've remembered, your role in the loop has already begun sensing. Confession file 077 has been marked. See you at 3:13.